Hi, this is Gushi and hello from China. I'm really sorry I couldn't be at the Frankfurt Book Fair today with you, but I'm recording this video to say hello. And I am a science fiction writer from China, and I based in Beijing mostly. I'm really happy that my book is translated in German. So it's really weird because I started using this pen name Gushi in 2011. And before that, I was a writer who write romance sci-fi stories online, but I use other pen names. So by that time, like 2011, I started internship in my company. So I feel like writing novels, like the long form, is really hard. So I changed to the short form. But the interesting thing is, like, I think I only started reading science fiction stories after I started writing it. So it's like I'm not those kind of like normal sci-fi fan and who read sci-fi stories when they were growing up. I read a lot of other kind of stories and other genres, but I really enjoy watching sci-fi movies. Like I was a huge Star Wars fan, so I read a lot of fan fiction online. Some of them was in English or translated into Chinese, and I tried to write the fan story by myself, but I find it's really hard for me to follow any story that other people started. So I find I have to write something, original just by myself. Like I have to like create its word by myself, and that's where my passion is. So that's how I started writing sci-fi stories. I think the stories in this book is from like different time that I writing that, like for the first story, 最终档案, which is called The Last Save in English. So I wrote that story in 2012. So that's when I first started writing sci-fi stories. So at that time, technology is more like inspiration for me. So when I read something on the newspaper or I read something on the internet and I find it very interesting, and then I think maybe this kind of like new technology may change the reality a little bit, so we can like go one more step from the reality and to try to explore a new world. So that's why I really started writing. But after like maybe 5 or 6 years, and when I was writing the story, which is also in this book, is called No One as a Wild Dog. I find technology something very different, and I try to be close to the real technology. So the story is about AI and how AI became a very huge threat to the humanity. But the interesting thing is, I write the story in 2017. So that's before GPT. I published the Chinese version on 2020. But you could see that what happens after the story is published, that everything the story tells happens. So it's kind of like the AIGC and embodiment intelligence and Sora, those kind of like AI that could generate movies that is going to come maybe next. So that's something also makes me really shocked because I only like go visit a lab, which is about like teaching the AI to understand human language. So that's the really basic part. But when I try to understand how this technology may goes, and then the story becomes to like this. So now I feel like kind of like the technology is it's not a, like threatened to the reality, it's the threatened to the science fiction writers, because if you do not write fast enough and you do not publish fast enough, and the story is no longer a sci-fi story. So what is so interesting about urban planning is that both urban planning and sci-fi writing is about the future. So usually we consider like urban planning as the real future, and sci-fi as the ones that of the fictional future. But recently I started to feel like maybe something has changed. So when more and more sci-fi story become real, so I started to feel like maybe this is also one way that we could see the real future. And about the inspiration, I think recently I wasn't in the mood that I have a lot of inspirations. I have a lot of things to say. So usually I have some like writing task that is given by other people. Like they ask me to write something about the climate change, and they want me to write something about the one mothership comes to the heart of the ocean. So that's Arizona State University. They want me to write something about the climate change. So they want have this kind of book to have the ideas from all over the world. Also, I have some other inspiration that is just like from music, because I really love classic music, and I really love the rhythm in the music. So sometimes I have something like a picture or rhythm or something like that, and I think maybe this could like add to a story. So I started trying all the beginnings of the story, and finally I find one of them that I think is good. So that's where it started. Yeah. One thing very interesting, because I recently read a comment about this story, is one of my readers say why everybody is female, and this is of course something like political is idea is deliberate, but I find like a lot of stories that only have men, but people never like judge. Okay, are they trying to deliver some message that is about, the male idea of everything? But people just consider that as a normal, way of writing science fiction. So for me, I do not really feel that I'm trying to deliver any particular message, but it's kind of like the people around me is just like this. So I was born as engineer a family. My mother is an electronic engineer and my father is an architect. So electronic engineer is not really normally considered as a work for the female, but she's doing that like her whole life. And also she have a lot of colleagues that are female. Also, like around me, the urban planners, and we can see a lot of female urban planners working in China. They are having they're like traveling around the country to the small towns to give ideas like how this city is going to be built. So I feel like I have the responsibility to tell their story. So it's kind of like the people around me are just like this. Also, I have another like comment is saying like, I think this is a like a female writer, a reader saying, it's not like you write a woman as men and then you're trying to be feminist. I'm saying no. This females are real, so they're just like this. They could like work, and they could have family, and they could have kids, and they have love, and they could be good people, they could be villain, they could have reasons to do good things and bad things. So that's how we change the history to her story, I think. And we want to read this kind of like future that female plays a very important role and plays a very important part in the future and in the future history. I think when maybe around 2018, I was in a meeting with the editors, and they're saying like science fiction world, the readers of science fiction world, which is the biggest sci-fi magazine in China, maybe the biggest sci-fi magazine in the world. Like 40% of the readers are female, so at least 40 of them. I think the writers are around the same, like 40%, maybe 50%. But I think those ones who write good is more than 50%. So we could see a lot of like really, really good writers. For example, Regina Kan Wang, and also Xiajia Chihui. And a lot of their stories have been translated to German. And one thing is so make me happy is that we could still seeing like new writers, younger generation, and there are more female writers who are really focusing on this sci-fi writing. One thing I believe is that there are more and more female sci-fi writing, like Lagoon's story, and also the Korean writer Jin Caoye. I do not know how to pronounce her name in English. So some very good female writer from other countries, their stories are translated into Chinese, like in these 5 or 7 years. And so people started to believe that science fiction belongs to women. Uh, so we have the power to speak to the future stories by the female writer. And also we have the responsibility to tell people like what the future could be like, in a woman's idea. Sometimes I feel like the story translation and publishing is like a miracle. So when the story is translated into another language, especially those languages that I couldn't read and I couldn't pronounce, it becomes something else. It has its own like new life of itself. So I'm really, really happy and exciting about the publication of this book. And I'm hoping that to receive any messages from the German readers, and I really do hope you like it.